Certainly emotional to hear those recordings. Marky Martin, thank you so much. Melissa Lucio is safe for now, but she still sits on death row, despite the fact that at least one juror who sent her there now says if given all the information, no way would he have voted for death. And that decision was heavily based on what many claim was a false confession that the prosecution used as a centerpiece in their conviction. Joining us now is attorney Dan Eckhart. Dan, I think people always think, why would anyone confess to something that they didn't do? It just doesn't make sense. But what's so interesting is when you look at the stats, this is actually not that uncommon, is it?
No, it's actually not. It's something that's more prevalent than people know. A lot of people don't have any involvement with law enforcement, so it's their first time they're sitting across from detectives or agents. So it's the dynamics of that interview process is such that they are vulnerable. I mean, the interrogators are professionals, and they have the questioning, they have the training, they have the techniques. So you're at odds with something. The deck is essentially stacked against you.
And in Melissa Lucio's case, in those videos, those interrogation videos, she said 100 times that she didn't do it, over and over again, 100 times before she confessed. I mean, how are the detectives allowed to do that? To just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing?
Yeah, the problem is there's not any hard and fast rules as to how long they can go. Essentially, what happens is the subject waives their Miranda rights, probably a written waiver, and you're there sometimes for hours. I mean, this interrogation in this case, I think, took a couple hours, but I've got cases where people have been held for several hours. And again, they're by themselves. They're in a police station. They're at the FBI office. They may not be in handcuffs, but they've got several people there interrogating them, and they are trained interrogators. I mean, their mission is to come out of that meeting with a confession.
5 hours of interrogation. That's how long this one went. Let's listen to a part of it that's really very interesting and I think sort of shows broadly what went on here. Take a listen, Dan.
This is your chance to set it straight, because right now it looks like capital murder. Right now it looks like you're a cold-blooded killer. Now, were you a cold-blooded killer?
No, I'm not.
Or were you a frustrated mother who just took it out on her?
So she's shaking her head no there, Dan, but they just seem to keep pushing. What do you make of that?
Well, again, that's what's an interesting concept is legally you're free to go. You're not in handcuffs. You're told you're free to go. But again, you're in a police station. You may be in an FBI office, someplace where you're completely unfamiliar, a fish out of water. You've got multiple people asking you questions. You're under a tremendous amount of stress. And one of the things that's, unique in these situations is you went through trauma like you never went through in your entire life. If you've lost your child, you've lost your husband, your wife, and people react differently to these types of stresses. And law enforcement has been trained that you're supposed to act a certain way. And unfortunately, they get this mindset. It's a group mindset. So you have one interrogator in the room. You have probably 3 or 4 other guys that are behind the glass, screen or glass window. They're feeding that interrogator with the questions. He's on his phone. He's got an earpiece in. So, I mean, the best analogy I can give you is you're in the casino. The deck is definitely stacked against you, and it's your life. So what I always tell people.
Yeah, it's so interesting. There's so much going on behind the scenes there. It's so interesting. Right. She will now not be executed on Wednesday, but we'll be following this very, very closely to see what happens after that. Obviously, it's not anywhere near over. Dan Eckhart, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.